Welcome to Dreamseed VR. I'm your host, Sarah Finn, and you have entered episode 1, Ethos. So you got an Oculus Quest for Christmas, eh? Or perhaps you were an early adopter from the past few years. Well, regardless how you found your way into virtual reality, welcome. Dreamseed VR is a new magazine, a sort of bridge between the analog world and virtual reality, where we explore the overlap between psychedelic culture and cyberpunk. For those of you who might be new to these ideas, let's break some of those words down. Psychedelic actually means mind manifesting. The etymology of the word, psyche, being mind, and delos, being manifesting. Virtual reality is a concept revolving around the application of computer technology to create a simulated world in which the user can enter a manifestation of the mind. In Ethos, psychedelics and virtual reality are one and the same. In a way, the psychedelic world is a representation of the noosphere, the sphere of human thought and imagination. First developed and popularized by a French philosopher and Jesuit priest named Pierre Teilhard de Chardin, pardon me if I didn't quite say that properly, and the French biochemist Vladimir Verdansky. Wikipedia states that Verdansky defined the noosphere as the new state of the biosphere and described it as the planetary sphere of reason. Both conceptions of the noosphere share a common thesis that human reason and scientific thought has a will and continues to create the next evolutionary geological layer. Cyberpunk culture has been a manifestation of the science fiction literature subgenre typically since the early 80s and is hallmarked by such works as William Gibson's Neuromancer. And much of the cyberpunk genre is rooted in the new wave of science fiction, which was a movement in the 1960s and 70s, with such writers as Phil K. Dick, Roger Zelazny, John Brunner, J.G. Ballard, Philip Jose Farmer, and Harlan Ellison. Early cyberpunk films include Johnny Mnemonic and Blade Runner, as well as The New Rose Hotel. Later on, culminating such classics as The Matrix, and more recently with films like Battle Angel Alita and the Netflix series Altered Carbon. Cyberpunk has an emphasis on the pastoral as well as the technological. It's a gritty, visceral, low-life element mingled with high technology. The technological is often contextualized and seen in a dystopian way because of the controlling nature of international corporations. And the pastoral is seen as an idyllic version of our past connection to nature that we've lost. We're at a unique point in culture where cyberpunk is no longer science fiction. In 2014, we saw the release of development kits for Oculus, and later on, it was released to consumers in March of 2016. And HTC's Vive was also released in June of 2016. The future has collided with the present, and we're now at the dawn of a literal cyberpunk culture. Literal, not literary. Instead of theorizing about the integration between computer sciences and the human mind, we have a much more direct interface. And with the advent of new technologies like Elon Musk's Neuralink, we have a whole new world in front of us. So back to psychedelics. Timothy Leary, the granddaddy of the psychedelic movement of the 1960s, with his work at Harvard, was fascinated by cyberpunk culture later in his life in the 1990s, talking about cyber-delic culture. I'll include some links to some of those lectures in the description below. Be warned though, the footage is dated, the audio isn't great, so I would really fine-tune your attention to get all the good bits out of it. Grateful Dead songwriter John Perry Barlow was also a psychedelic proponent of internet activism and founded the Electronic Frontier Foundation. His writings include a Declaration of Independence of Cyberspace, which was written in response to the enactment of the Communications Decency Act of 1996. And the EFF saw the law as a threat to the independence and sovereignty of cyberspace. Dreamseed is here to help us prototype reality and understand the philosophical implications of our new technologies integrating culturally. Together, we'll define the nature of real-world cyberpunk culture as mass adoption of virtual reality becomes a reality. Dreamseed is comprised of 4 different spheres that we will share weekly with our users. We'll also be showcasing reviews on science fiction movies, books, and music. We'll be sharing video essays such as these, a dive into philosophical stuff, And we'll also be sharing interviews with the industry's leading minds in virtual reality. So stay tuned to hear more about the recent news of the past month, some of the reviews that we have going on, as well as a primer on where you can catch us in VR to actually be a member of our studio audience and check out these cool interviews coming up. Thank you for your attention. I really appreciate it. I know the media world is highly saturated, but I am excited to bring you this new avenue, this new bridge as your editor and host. So see you next time.